listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, Jon Cross.
Well, that was evocative. It's almost too much, mate. Almost too much evocation.
Evoking?
Evocation.
Evocate, is that the right pronunciation?
I don't know. You can evocate something. No, I don't know. Evoke something.
You can evoke something.
But you can have evocation, right?
I don't know.
I
genuinely.
But
stumped.
But running from the cinema under umbrellas as a mild thunderstorm, really. Mild thunderstorm.
Rainstorm.
Hits New York City, having just...
that's where we are.
Yeah. Having just watched a movie in which a hurricane takes place.
In Florida, which is where we're not.
But it was evocative.
It was evocative.
I'm using the word evocative.
I found myself evoked. Watch out.
What?
Open it like that.
Why?
Because I'm telling you, open it like that.
Why?
Because. You're supposed to come back and open the menu, and not like who reads a menu like that?
Well, because there's not enough room on the table.
Yeah, fair enough. I should have seen that.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, there you go, mate. Another one for your collection.
Oh, mate, that's amazing. Look at that, the official movie adaptation by Mangles, Phipps, and Carberg. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Brilliant. Thanks, man.
You're welcome, mate.
Ever so often, people don't know this about my erstwhile co-host, Jim Wallace. I don't even know if erstwhile is the right word, but my erstwhile... What is all this water here? Is that eyeglasses? My erstwhile co-host, Jim Wallace, likes to get me comic book film adaptations.
Official movie adaptations
of comic books.
But not any old bollocks.
No, not any old bollocks. Something that I would appreciate.
Dark Crystal. Yeah. Superman 3.
You've got more pretzel on your top again.
All right.
Yeah.
Have I done it again?
Right there. It's all over your...
Oh my God, I am the worst human being alive.
Yeah, you've just got chocolate everywhere, so it's quite...
How is it I can walk through a rainstorm and come out dirty?
With more chocolate.
Yeah, we're just covered in shit.
Maybe you, I don't know, ran underneath the Willy Wonka factory of rain tubes.
The Willy Wonka factory of rain tubes.
I don't know.
It started out pretty well. You were going, I'll get to the end of this sentence, no problem. Just start, and the rest of it will come. Don't worry about it. The joke's there. It's just waiting to be told.
Just deep.
Rain tubes. Rain tubes?
Well, because
that's what you beckoned me down the dark corridor of this joke for rain tubes?
If Willy Wonka had rain tubes, they would be filled with chocolate.
I mean, surely he'd have chocolate tubes. Why would he call them rain tubes?
What, to distinguish from the other?
Rain does not sound. Chocolate rain sounds very much like a euphemism, but a certain kind of stomach issue.
But in his factory, he has chocolate.
You're right, mate. Oh, mate.
It is.
I've been chucking down chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain all morning. But in his factory, he has chocolate pipes.
Oh, yeah, rain tubes.
Which is no better. Chocolate pipes is no better. In his factory, he has chocolate pipes.
What are you going to call these, Willie? These I'm calling rain tubes. Why?
Because chocolate rain sounds like a disease.
What? All right, fair enough.
You know I'm onto something.
You know best.
Listeners, please write
write in.
Hello at After Movie
rain tubes, question mark? Y/M.
Write in to hello at aftermoviediner.com with the subject
heading. You shouldn't say
heading.
hello like that, because it sounds like it's hello exclamation mark. It's not.
You can't do exclamation marks in.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, it's hello at aftermoviediner.com.
How long have I been alive and using the internet and I didn't know you couldn't put exclamation marks in?
I don't think you can.
You could do right.
I think you put underscores, but I don't think you put it. I don't think
underscores
you can.
Yeah, because I'm all underscores. I have to say in public quite often underscore.
Do people hit you with things after you've said it?
Well, I feel like I want to hit myself.
Do people punch you in the face?
I feel like my face needs punching.
Yeah.
Stop.
Do people
saying the word underscore?
Do people remove a sweater and try and strangle you with it, or choke you out.
Depends on the country, mate.
Depends on the country.
Yeah, Norway, they're your sweater stranglers.
They're your sweater stranglers. Norway.
French, they're much more of the punch in the face kind of people.
Well, I would imagine the French would be more, let's smother him with a beret or something.
Well, that is true. It all depends on the transgression, doesn't it? Depends on what you've done. If you say underscore, they just punch you in the face.
They just punch you in the face.
If you say rain tubes,
they
you get to the end of a joke and it doesn't quite work out. They smother you with a beret. They're very unforgiving, the French.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I probably won't go there again.
Probably a good idea. I don't know what to have now. I do kind of want just to have the bowl of chili. It's fucking good.
What have I had here before? I don't know if I want a burger though.
You don't want a burger? You can have a burger if you want. There's lots of them.
I think I want ham, egg and chips.
You always want ham, egg and chips.
I haven't had ham, egg and chips on a diner episode in a long time.
When was the last time you, personally, diner or not, had ham, egg and chips?
Last week. But it wasn't on a diner.
No, that's fine.
But it was in a diner in Connecticut.
Connecticut.
The Mill something diner. The Mill Plain diner.
I am not, repeat, not getting the melted cheese this time.
I am not, I repeat, not interested in your story about ham, egg and chips at the Mill Plain diner.
I thought that was
Abundantly obvious.
In fact, did I even need to say anything?
No.
If you'd asked yourself internally, is he interested in this? What would the answer have been without me saying anything?
No.
Or even changing my facial expression?
Right, no.
Alright, I'm gonna go to chili. Fuck it. I look homeless.
Yeah, but you always look homeless. So
I know.
It's like a consistent.
It's like I start off looking okay.
When though? When was that? When
I sort of
did you
start off.
When did you start off looking okay? When was that? 1987? Was that?
I was 10. Yeah, I probably looked vaguely human then. It has all been down.
No, I don't know. 10? I think your peak humanity was probably at around 16. I think after that it all.
16. I was terrible at 16.
Okay, no, you're right. You were terrible.
I was like a greasy, lank, half-formed, emaciated blubberfish.
It's quite an attractive visual you've painted there, Jim.
Well, that's what I am, with lank hair.
You're probably actually at your most human. I know I jokingly attack you a lot, but but actually, you're probably at your most human and your most debonair and attractive right now.
Really, even with the chocolate?
Well, no, I mean the clothes are a disaster, but I'm talking about the face and the head.
Oh, you think so? That's very kind, thank you.
Well, because you're not like blubbery. You've not gone Shatner. You've not gone
red
full
Shat.
black Shatner. The hair is working for you.
It does work for me. I am glad. Ever since I first got it
If we
shaved
could just
off,
sort out whatever this...
from the neck down.
Yeah, whatever
the
these
sartorial choices.
homeless thrift store...
I do start off looking reasonably.
No.
You don't think?
No, you look like someone who bought all of his clothes, probably including his underpants, at the thrift store.
At Kmart.
Yeah. No, not even Kmart. I tell you what you look like. Outside my laundromat in
You can stop there. You look like outside my laundromat.
Well, there were those clothes...
Broken pavement, old cigarette butts,
there were those
a general whiff of hopelessness.
But there are those bins where you can deposit clothes if you want them to go to thrift stores or charities or whatever.
I am. You are as well. Let's face it. Don't lie.
All right, yeah.
I'm going to have a bowl of chili. The beef chili. And a cup of English breakfast tea with milk, please.
And I'll have 2 eggs over easy, griddled ham, and French fries.
White sauce?
Sure.
Nothing to drink?
No, that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
What was I saying? Yeah, so outside my laundromat...
Right. You're halfway through insulting me.
Yeah, no.
Don't forget where you were.
Not you, the clothes.
Okay. Yeah, but I bought the clothes and I'm wearing the clothes.
Yeah, no, and I can't talk. I'm wearing a shirt I've
If you
owned
looked at
4
my
years.
clothes in a
and
company,
it
you'd be like, oh,
doesn't-
they look nice. And you put them on me, you go, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah.
This is a disaster.
Sometimes you're quite natty.
Depends.
I feel like me, you're more suited to the winter attire than the summer
I do
attire.
feel that, yeah.
I think when the summer rolls in, you probably get flummoxed and you're like, I don't know what to do here.
Well, actually, you make a good point here because I'm actually mid-flummox. No, actually, I feel like I'm coming towards the end of a flummox. Because I have some nice, like, summer trousers.
Right.
Like, ready to go.
Right.
But I'm very
Well,
reluctant.
I'm not even
For
commenting
some
on
reason,
the bottom half. I mean, the bottom half is it's just acceptable pants.
Thank you very much. What's this thing called? Oh.
Just Acceptable Pants, the new album from Jim Wallace.
Acceptable pants. No more. Just acceptable pants.
Featuring the single, Coming to the End of a Flummox. I'm coming to the end of a flummox.
I like that. It's nice.
Thank you.
Oh, they went up at the end there.
Yeah, it's good. It was unexpected.
It was.
But I just
Surprised me, mate.
snuck it in right there, and there you were, pleasantly surprised by the.
Speaking of
There's a donut pub across the road. I might want to get a donut after this.
all right.
That's new, I think, or relatively new. And weird, there's also right next to it, there's a place that just is called And Pizza with a huge ampersand on the window.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like the donut pub and pizza.
No, but is it?
No, it is a different store.
So the store is
So
just
should we
called
keep-
And Pizza.
Should we
But
keep describing the things we're seeing?
Yes, because what I want to ask the question of,
I'm seeing a
If it's-
malodorous rump wasting everyone's time.
if a store is called so bear with me on it.
Do I have to?
Yes.
Can I drift off?
No.
Into a world of my own design?
No.
Okay.
Pizza is normally the main dish, right? You might have with pizza salad, garlic knots, marinara sauce, ranch dressing, whatever it is. You
Ranch
might have
dressing?
to dip the pizza
Oh,
in.
okay.
But having and pizza makes me assume that they have a bunch
Well,
of
but it
other
does say
things.
pizza at the top and then and underneath
No,
the word
the-
pizza.
the- at the top it says ampersand pizza, and
right.
then there's another ampersand.
Oh, you're right.
Maybe they're using it as like, they're like, "Ooh, I wonder what that symbol is. It's cool. Let's call our pizza joint after that symbol that nobody knows what it is.
Oh wait, you're saying that the owner of And Pizza doesn't realise that what that symbol denotes is and.
Yeah. Or they're like, you come and get a pizza and something else.
No, in
Like
which case
what?
it should be pizza and.
I agree.
And not and pizza.
I agree, but but that's why they're being, that's what's so clever about it.
Well, I've talked
That's
about it
what's
for
so
a minute
brilliant.
that nobody cares
But
about.
there you go, yeah.
So anyway, there we go. Hello and welcome to the After Movie
Yeah, if
Diner.
diner listeners ever come to New York and they pass that restaurant,
Yeah.
they're like, on account of we start feeling sleepy and distracted. Why?
They'll be like, why was that?
Why am I sleepy and distracted?
I have a dim recollection.
It's like I've been here before and felt sleepy and distracted.
I have a dim recollection that back in July of 2019,
I was bored.
that bearded fool was yammering on about this place. It's funny, yeah.
All right, so do you want to carry on with the yammering then?
And pizza, the donut pub,
Are you still going?
and vitamin shop with too many peas.
Stop
in it.
describing things that people can't see.
All right.
It's
Hello
like
and
you're
welcome.
torturing blind people.
I would like to do that. Hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner. And as you've already guessed, we have regular co-host Jim Wallace opposite me.
I'm sorry.
No, don't ever apologise. You are the glue that
feel
holds
like
this whole shambolic mess together.
Really? I feel like it's
And
definitely you.
By glue, I mean whatever that's dripping out of you on occasion.
Onto my shirt.
Yeah.
Chocolate rain.
Whatever that excretion that kind of
Chocolate rain.
lifts out of you. Chocolate
Holding us
rain.
together, chocolate rain.
Rain tubes. I want you to slide down my rain tube into my river of love. So it's my
I
river.
liked it.
Yeah,
It's a bit weird. I'm not sure the metaphor really works, but I like it.
slightly creepy. I think the rain tubes are his penis. But
What's the river? Once you slide down,
what are you?
what's he sitting in?
Yeah.
Why is he so damp?
Back to excretions again. And we're talking on this episode
About another damp thing.
Seamless.
Fucking seamless. Oh, if they could hand out podcast awards. And they do. It's just not to us.
They've not got round to us. By the way, if ever there comes an opportunity where you, dear listener, are able to write in a podcast vote, because sometimes when they do the podcast nominations, you go to the page, they have do you want...
We can't even get one of these lazy bastards to write a comment on your page, and you want enough of them to write to the same content, coincidentally, at some point in the future, that we will win an award.
Yeah.
That is the height of optimism right there. I'm almost in awe of how optimistic that is.
Yeah.
It's almost making me reevaluate my own permanently slightly pessimistic state.
Yeah. There's that, dear listener, that you could do, which you're not going to. But something that you might be excited about doing...
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Thank you. Something you might be excited about doing, and by excited I use that word excessively loosely, is going to our Facebook page and filling out the 8th podcast
I need to get a cup next time. I would never remember whether I get a cup or a bowl.
Oh, and you got a bowl that's too much.
And I got a bowl that's too much.
Too much, mate.
It's too fucking much.
And you didn't get the cheese.
No, but I deliberately didn't get the cheese. Every time I get the cheese, I'm going, why am I getting this? It doesn't taste like cheese.
No.
I just coloured a square yellow. And it's cost me $2.
It's $2 of oily yellow.
It's $2 for added chemicals.
It's $2 of oily yellow.
Exactly.
Which is another single on your upcoming album. Where did it all go wrong? The Jim Wallace life story. What was I saying? Oh yes, the other thing we want you to go, dear listener, is go over to our Facebook page and fill out the form that we've put on there to dictate what Jim and I have to watch for the 8th anniversary of the podcast.
Confident prediction. That one bloke that recommended Ronin, which wasn't on the list.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie. Will be the only comment on that post, and nobody will fill in the form except me.
Wow.
That's my confident prediction.
Well, you're already wrong.
Oh, really?
Because I filled out the form. And you're already wrong again because someone else filled out the form. They just didn't leave their name.
Oh, okay. What did they fill out? What did they go for?
They went for New York Ripper.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's the only vote, that's what we'll go for. I think we should honour that. Anybody that gets off their fat ass long enough to fill out a bloody form.
And it's not a long form, is it? It's what, 3 questions?
No. But if somebody could be bothered to do that, I will happily abide by the result of that poll. Because non-lazy bastard behaviour should be encouraged in members of the dino, I think.
Quite right, quite right.
I mean, more than one person listens.
Well,
as far as we know.
More than one person downloads it.
Oh, well, that's a good point. So, you're right.
Oh, something went down the wrong pipe.
Do you think when I break up my crackers? My rain tubes.
Something went down my...
You're plugging my rain tubes to Lula.
That's amazing. You're on fire tonight. You made me laugh really heartily before the movie because of your whole Bob and the 6,000 apples. We found out before the movie because there was 7,800 trailers.
God almighty, it never ended. How many movies did they try?
Well, because Blumhouse is releasing one every 3 days, so therefore they had to do at least 17.
At least they I will say this about the trailers. There was a single franchise in there.
Well, because they were all horror stuff.
Yeah, I suppose so. But still, there was but you know what I mean? There was no franchise. It was all just weird little movies. Some of which I genuinely want to see. And that's quite rare when I go to the cinema. It's quite rare to see a trailer in the cinema and go, oh, I'd like to see that.
Well, because we went to see a weird little one-off movie. That's why they tend to pair the trailers. When we go see a big blockbuster, all we see is
I don't know, generally speaking, even when we see something small, they tend to have the same trailers out.
Maybe. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, in the lead up to it, we found out that there are 6,000 different varieties of apple. And I turned to Jim and I said, if you and me, mate, had been there when they were making that decision, we would have gone one type of apple next. And you said we'd be out of a job.
Right.
And then I realized the genius of that statement is that you're completely true. The reason why, we have middle managers in corporations trying to desperately like come up with new variations on exactly the same thing.
Right.
It's because they're all absolutely panicked about their jobs.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the naming of Apple job at day one, whenever that was, Jeff or Bob or whoever it was who was in charge of naming apples, when he realized that apples is apples, basically, some are slightly bigger, some are slightly smaller, but basically apples is apples.
He panicked.
He panicked. And then he was like, I've got to come up with enough Apple brands to last.
So I don't get fired.
Right, to last until retirement. So that's why
we're 5 years away.
Yeah, that's why there was 6,000
and that's the story of why there are six. And if anybody asks you,
it was so much funnier before the film. So we went to see Hurricane Heist 2. This time there's alligators,
aka
Crawl. Produced by Sam Raimi, directed by Alexandre.
So is that how you pronounce it?
Aja, yeah.
No, I thought it was Aya. I know that's wrong, but I've never known.
Why would you think it was Aya?
Well, because nobody's ever told me. I just see his name on things. I haven't got a clue. I have no idea.
Anyway, Alexandre Aja, who rose to prominence with the French language horror... Haute Tension. Also known as Switchblade Romance, also known as High Tension.
I prefer Switchblade Romance.
Yeah, although it's a bit of a poncy. I mean, High Tension is better than... Although it also sounds like that Mel Brooks film, High Anxiety. But anyway...
That's what it makes me think
of. Which we kind of discovered, like, when it came out. Like, it made enough of a splash in England that us horror fans back in the early 2000s-ish discovered it and were watching it and kind of...
For me, it was back in the... 3 DVDs for a tenner, 3 used DVDs for a tenner at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
They go, oh, this looks like a weird French horror film. I'll buy that.
And you were all about it.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And then when he came to America, sadly for me personally, he got lost in the swamp of remake abyss. He kind of did the...
Well, he was the horror director coming to Hollywood at a time when everything was horror was remakes, in horror anyway.
And did he do Texas Chainsaw first? Is that what he did? Or did he do The Hills Have Eyes?
I think he just did The Hills Have Eyes.
But he did one of the Texas Chainsaws, didn't he?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Maybe not then. But he did The Hills Have Eyes remake. He did Piranha, the 2 Piranha films, I think. I don't know what else he's done.
Oh, he did one set in a parking lot, which might have been his first one, actually.
Oh, is that called like P8 or something?
Yeah, P49 or something like that.
Is that him?
It had the bloke out of American Beauty in it. I think that's him. I'm sure that was him. It was all right, that one.
No, his first one was definitely High Tension.
No, I mean his first Hollywood one.
Oh.
It might have been that, I think. I don't know.
But it feels like, only because the moment he started doing remakes, I kind of didn't follow him any further.
Right.
It feels like this is a return to a semi-original kind of concept for him.
Yeah.
And produced by Sam Raimi, which gives it a certain cachet still.
Yeah.
Although, considering Raimi hasn't made a decent film in 20 years, I'm not quite sure why it gives it any cachet, but it apparently gives him cachet. So that was...
Yeah, I don't know either. With journalists, I guess, maybe? The people who write the reviews, that's where you got to start, right?
I think that because the Evil Dead remake was so popular, and Raimi was very vocal about producing that, and then that was followed up by Ash vs. Evil Dead, a franchise that, although while the TV show was not highly rated or successful at all in terms of viewership, it still followed hot enough on the heels that Entertainment Weekly and shit were writing about, like, Sam Raimi and the Evil Dead again.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
So I suppose, like, Raimi producing another horror hit that's like perfect summer blockbuster fluff.
And the last time he did...
With a famous horror director again, that is something to write about. So therefore, it's rare, unless you're Bruckheimer, that a producer goes out and promotes a movie. But in this case, Raimi is as much the face of this film as Aja is, even though it's clear on the set, Raimi probably didn't have anything to do with it, outside of,
outside of Chocolate Rain?
Just making it happen, just like facilitating it.
Right.
The After Movie Diner with Jon Cross will return right after this.
That's right. It will return, and it will return forthwith. However, we must play an advert at this stage. I apologize, but we need to pay for this thing, and we just had to drop $200 on renewing the website and a whole bunch of other stuff. So we do need to pay for it, thus the advert which we're about to play. However, if you would like to hear a advert or promo for something you do, writing, podcasting, making films, making music, whatever it is, read out here at this point in the show, then all you have to do is go over to Patreon, patreon.com/After Movie Diner and donate $3 to the podcast. Become a $3 sponsor of the podcast, and I will read out any promo, advertisement, or anything that you want in this spot on the show. So go do that over at patreon.com/After Movie Diner.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, Jon Cross.
So actually I was going to ask, so when it comes to like Raimi, right, do you think someone bought him the finished film and he slapped his name on it?
No.
Or they bought him the script and went,
No, I think
right.
I think he was involved. I don't.
How does somebody like Raimi, like, and why this and not other? Because this is, like, as you say, the first thing he's produced in a while.
Well,
so what makes him go, let's do this one?
so there's lots of different types. There's Ghost House Pictures, which he owns with Rob Tapert, which he essentially executive produces, which means him and Rob Tapert use some of their investment cash to fund a movie or support a movie, and then they slap their name on it. So that's like from Ghost House Pictures, Sam Raimi comes, whatever.
What was the last thing they did?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Like, if you go on his IMDb page, he's executive produced movies you wouldn't even fucking know. Like, they've done hundreds. Or at least like a good solid like 50 that I've never seen or heard of. The biggest one they did was the Grudge remake with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh, okay.
And then there are movies like the Evil Dead remake, and like this one, where he's a full-blown producer, which I think is more where he shepherds it from conception to release.
Right.
I don't think he's a producer in the sense of, I don't think he's ringing people up to organize craft services or getting Winnebagos to the right place. But I think in terms of a mentor and a name and someone who knows how to navigate the corridors of Hollywood to get shit like this on a few big screens,
right?
I think that's what it means in this case. I'm assuming. But
okay. So, quick question: do you think it was worth it?
My quick capsule review, and hopefully this answers your question, is the movie is tons of fun, but not in any way exceptional.
May I counter that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree, but I would argue that a B-movie horror that is tons of fun but not exceptional is, these days, an exception. It's exceptional within the market in which we find it. Being able to go to the cinema,
right?
Here's my point. Being able to go to cinema, in New York, like with a medium-sized crowd, like the cinema was pretty full. Watch a film like that where when a bloke's arm gets like chopped in half by a crocodile, the entire cinema goes ooh really loud. Alligator, sorry, right? Or when my character has to be really stupid, someone in a row in front of you goes, oh, don't be stupid, right? That was a really fun experience.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
and that's one of the first times I've had that in New York. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Since Zombieland, maybe.
No, I mean,
you and I went to see Zombieland.
Yeah, we saw that together, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But do you know what I mean? Like that thing of going to the cinema, watching a fun, silly B movie, and having a good if that movie had been made in the 70s, it would have all the same flaws this one has.
Right.
But it would be like, but it bombed along, there was a few good scares.
Yeah, no.
I probably jumped out of my seat on a number of occasions.
No, so did I. And I'm not downplaying the movie.
No, I do know what you mean, because it wasn't like, we're not coming out with going, that was because there was too many flaws in it. It was too po-faced, and characters did things that were totally logical. And the whole, you've been bitten 4 times severely by an alligator, and you're still basically running around, but nothing's happened. Like, did take the gloss off it a bit, but I did really enjoy the experience of watching it.
I did. Like, there was
unique in the cinema with strangers.
Totally. No. That goes without saying, and I 100% agree with you on that. And I know what you're saying in terms of like it being an exception. When I said it wasn't exceptional, I meant the content of the film. I didn't necessarily mean the experience.
Oh no, I know. That I was just being a smart ass.
And again, it didn't need to be exceptional. And you know, I fully understand that people are not writing B movies in the way that they used to, and people, more importantly, the actors that they're getting for films like this. And I would very strongly compare this to Hurricane Heist. I really would, and not just because there's a hurricane in it, but because the biggest flaw in it was not the concept or even the way that the concept was delivered, which was, you know, a very strong notch above workmanlike and decent.
Yeah.
I compare it to it because the script and the acting, when on the 3 or 4 occasions that there was a respite that called for the 2 leads to like continue their dialogue together about whatever, regrets and family and bullshit. It was as, you know, stinky and wooden as, you know, a twig.
I'm not saying it wasn't stinky wood. The Hurricane Heist was severely stinky wood.
You enjoyed it. We both enjoyed the hell out of Hurricane Heist.
That's true. Okay,
so I would urge you to go back and listen to that episode again. We enjoyed the hell out of Hurricane Heist.
Okay, then you're right. Then it was simple.
Because it knew exactly what it was, in the same way that this knows exactly what it is.
Well, see, that's the thing, isn't it? Like
the only difference.
Long may this continue.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Listen, I am in no way condemning this movie. Go see it, make $1 billion. Let's get 20 more of them. 100. I don't care. Like, but. I'm also not going to sit here and be like, yay, Raimi and Ajar are back, because the cinematography was not exceptional particularly. I mean, the underwater photography there was some good bits, but it was that very kind of grey digital. It looks just like Hurricane Heist, and not just because there's a hurricane in it. It looked the same.
What'd I do? What happened?
You just burped, like, really audibly.
Well, I just had a huge bowl of chili that I ate about 5 seconds.
All right. It looks exactly like Hurricane Heist. It looks like that grey digital film, right?
By the way, what I liked was
that was clearly
everybody in that cinema, apart from us, has never seen a hurricane film before.
Right.
Because when the eye of the storm went over and everything went calm, they all laughed at how ridiculous it was that the storm had stopped so quickly.
No, they laughed because the whole point of that was that they were crossing the water and they needed the rain to cover up their splashing. And the fact that it was so convenient that just as they got in the middle
No.
That's why they were laughing.
No. They were laughing because they thought that the storm had ended in really
How
quickly.
do you know why they were laughing?
Because, this is what I'm saying, because when it... there was... People were saying things. How was it? Somebody said something after the laughter about the... I can't remember.
Well, you've stalled it. You've come up with an irrelevant observation.
It wasn't irrelevant. I just thought it was fun. And nobody knew what the eye of a storm was.
Well, that's your assumption.
It is my assumption.
I thought they were laughing at the hokey coincidence that just when they needed the rain stopped.
See, I didn't even know they needed the rain.
he literally says a line of dialogue, "The rain will cover us."
Oh, okay, I did miss that. Oh, maybe that was why they were laughing at it.
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
It was literally a plot point. The whole reason why that led to a dough kind of laugh was he goes, "We'll be fine as long as there's no splashing." And he's like, then he goes, because all of a sudden, like, he has, even though he's been like bitten by an alligator, had his leg broken by an alligator, his daughter has suffered like endless trauma from alligators. Just when he needs to be an expert on alligators, he pulls some fact out of his ass. And one of the ones was splashing. Like, you know, if we splash a lot, they'll come for us. They're attracted to it. But the rain will cover the splashing as long as it keeps raining this heavily. And then they get out into the middle of where there's...
It was a bit like his pipe fact. Like when I bang the pipe, it distracts them. You better make a run for it. Okay? No, they don't like it when I bang the pipe. You better make a run for them. So what part of them not liking the pipe means they will swim away from humans? Won't that mean you just rile them up?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that.
So... But what the film does...
I thought she was all right. He wasn't great, but she was all right.
So,
Given she had to, like, carry the whole film.
one thing struck me in the middle of this. So weird. There's one of those adverts on TV right now in the diner for that button, like, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up." Anyway.
You're saying I need that for my birth?
No.
Help, I burped and I can't get up.
What was I saying? Right. So, the film takes place in Florida during a hurricane.
Oh yeah, plot.
The woman goes to her dad's apartment. He's not there. She finds his dog, Sugar. The father is like newly divorced and trying to sell their old family home. Against the police's wishes, she drives the back road into their old town, where their old house is, where he's trying to flog it, but can't let it go. And she finds him in a crawl space under the house with a broken leg and a giant alligator bite in his shoulder. While they're down there, she's attacked by an alligator as well, and the waters begin to rise because they were in a crawl space. The water starts flowing through the holes in the brick between the ground and the building. And what the movie does very well is it goes, we have hurricane/flooding/alligators and two people in peril. What are the things that could help them escape? And how do we get to a point where just as they almost get the thing that might help them escape, their plan is foiled by something else, either an act of nature or
more alligators,
or a human error, or more alligators, or whatever it is. It did a very good job of, like, with every sort of 5 to 7 minutes, upping the ante and adding yet another thing. The first one being that when she crawls under the pipes to a safe, it's determined that the alligators can't get past these pipes that are acting like a gate where her father is lying.
Right.
That she suddenly notices that she's dropped her cell phone. So the first, like, tense scene is her going to try and get her cell phone.
It's also the first scene where you're like,
Right. Well, no, because when she picks up her cell phone, instead of, like, running back to where she is safe before trying to call 911, she stays out in the open trying to make a call and gets attacked by alligators, to which you're like, well, you now just deserve every fucking bad thing that happens to you. And I understand, you know, that's one of those moments where if I read it in the script, I was like, I would be like, I know what you're going for. What you're going for is for the audience watching this movie to be like, get back behind the pipes, run, get back behind the pipes. And when she gets attacked, to go, oh, you know, like, you're looking for audience reaction.
oh, okay, well, that's interesting then, I suppose.
And I understand why you're going for that, and I would have said to them, go against that instinct. Because the problem with that instinct is you're going for the simple audience reaction mixed with the shock and surprise of an alligator attack. rather than going for an audience that is going to follow this human character the rest of the movie because they like her versus because she's the only human.
On the other, I noticed that, but on the other hand, I guess you could argue, and certainly this is how I felt, that it was quite old-fashioned in many ways, and that nature of this is a thrill ride. You know, this is you're gonna
right. I mean,
go to the TV, you're gonna call characters just like you used to do in like 60s, 70s.
Listen, the Raimi movie that this is closest to is Drag Me to Hell,
Right.
where he contrives a scenario, a bit of a clunky scenario, but he contrives a scenario whereby his leading female heroine will be attacked and beset upon by all sides in a roller coaster fashion for 90 minutes. And it's because I think that, rightly or wrongly, because of the attention that the Evil Dead franchise has gotten in the last 20 years, I think Sam Raimi has decided, just based on the choices he's made, I've not heard him say anything about it, but he's decided, oh, that's how I do horror. Like, that's how audiences like me to do horror. He sees The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, especially those two movies, as, for 90 minutes, let's see how much I can torture Bruce.
Right.
And as he's got older, he's changed that to let's see how much I can attack, young female characters, to give them, strength and presence and poise and their own chance to be set upon. Also, because traditionally in horror, certainly since the 80s, that was the role of women that was very often the role of women in horror. And it's often been noted that The Evil Dead is one of the few franchises where there's a final man rather than a final girl. Most of the time there's a final girl. So it's not necessarily that and if you think about it, Ash actually has a female name, he's called Ashley, so there's a whole thing. But essentially he's gone back to the final girl syndrome rather than...
Right.
And where this follows the line of something like Drag Me to Hell or Evil Dead is we set up the concept as quickly as we can. We sprinkle a few bits of backstory that might keep the audience on their side, which I have to say in this movie does not. And it doesn't in Drag Me to Hell either. She's insufferable. The boyfriend that she's with in Drag Me to Hell is insufferable. So it doesn't work there either. But my point about the initial alligator attack when she goes to get her phone is he's done what he always has done recently and gone for the roller coaster moment. Like you say, he's gone for the audience reaction. Whereas actually a better decision would have been to forego that. You could have still had her scrabbling back to the pipes and alligators snapping at her heels or whatever, and maybe even they nip her leg quickly. But if you're going to show your leading person that you're going to have to follow the whole movie to be, let's be fair, a little bit stupid, it was less easy for me to go forward with her. Outside of the fact that she was just the only one I had to.
True, but my only. You're right, of course, but I wonder whether I've seen a lot of horror, and these days, people behaving in a smart way, people doing the thing. In other words, not annoying the audience, and instead doing the thing that you would do and getting people on your side that way is more often than not the norm. That's
no, it's not. Nowadays, there would be a movie fan in the movie who would be like, we shouldn't run upstairs, we should go out the front door.
No, that's...
And then they go out the front door and get attacked by someone.
No. That's No, there's not. These days, the modern ones,
they all still make the
Blumhouse-
same stupid decision.
No, they don't. But that's the point. They don't. That's what I'm saying. I'm specifically saying the opposite of that, which is that in the new ones, what they do is they do the smart thing, right? But the things they're beset by, generally in modern horror movies, don't obey any kind of rules. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but they're not like monsters or Dracula.
There were still moments
slasher
in,
killer.
like, okay, let's take a very saluted recent horror film, Get Out. There were scenes in Get Out where you're like, literally, why doesn't he just get out? Or there were scenes in Us, his follow-up,
I haven't seen that
where
yet,
it was.
Don't tell me.
I'm not telling you that, but there was equally moments where you're like, you know.
I'm just saying. I watch a lot of modern horror, because in the last 2 or 3 years, and not in any kind of I'm a discerning horror.
No, I get
fan,
it.
whatever.
I get it.
I just me and my wife, we watch a horror double bill every night.
Right.
Teresa likes modern horror, so we watch a lot of it. I'm just saying, generally speaking, the pattern is. I'm just talking about the B movie stuff.
I understand.
Not like the critically acclaimed whatever, but just like let's get in, get it done, and get out.
Right.
Usually they get you in by having people behave in a sensible way and do the thing that you would do as an audience, but it makes no difference because these days it tends to be, fucking vengeful ghosts, or it turns out you've been possessed by your aunt or whatever, right? But it's something that it obeys no laws of physics,
right?
So they can, in other words, they're free to do the sensible thing because it makes no difference against the odds they're facing.
Oh, except The Conjuring 2.
Why was in The Conjuring 2?
The Conjuring 2 was full of situations where I was like, ugh.
Isn't The Conjuring 2 the one set in the 80s or whatever?
In London, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe that was a deliberate thing.
But no, I know what you're saying, and we don't necessarily have to go into this point any further. And it didn't totally ruin the movie for me. I just mean,
I know, I do know what you mean. I'm just sorry, but the point I didn't get to make was, so I'm not sure it wasn't necessarily a deliberate choice. Not to do it that way, just for something different. You know what I mean?
no, I get that.
Just because that's how it felt to me, and it certainly made the film more enjoyable for me in the cinema. And it sets her up in another way, in a more basic, just narrative sense.
Right.
It sets her up as a character that you don't know necessarily she's going to do the smart thing. You don't know what she's going to do next. So she's got to, get from point A to point B. You don't necessarily think she's going to make the smart decision.
The funny thing is that if I just stay and go, yeah, it was a fun alligators in a Hurricane B movie, which is entirely what it is. That's the end of that. I've got nothing else to say. If I start to dig away at the characters in any way from any of the scenes, I start to have real problems with it. And then I start to go, yeah, but wait, it's just a B movie. So it feels a little discussion proof because I can't really. No, I know. If I go down the tunnel of being they establish the fact that she's a swimmer at the beginning of it's the first scene in the movie, and yet the rest of the movie we have to have her. We even get fucking flashbacks to her father teaching her to swim when she's a kid. We get all that information in the first 5 minutes. We don't need 3 more scenes of him being you can swim, or when you were a kid you went into the pool and you held your breath. I'm I already assumed this shit because she's a almost Olympic swimmer. So let's not. Once I start going down that tunnel, why am I wasting screen time with this?
But again,
hokey bullshit.
I would argue that actually, and again, this is just my reaction to it, which does differ from yours, right? I didn't mind all that stuff because the purpose of it was that she doesn't, that he's supposed to be an overbearing, dad coach.
I know.
Right? Yeah. So their relationship has been defined by her deciding he's an overbearing dad coach, and it's time he and I both realise that I'm not really good enough, to be the great swimmer. And then when he tells that story about, and that's how I thought of them, right? So he's just, he's a bit of an overbearing boob. He's pushed his daughter. She's not that good. She's only coming in second in a swim meet in fucking a Florida university. This is not Olympic gold medal stuff, right? If she can't hack it at a Florida university, she's probably not got it, right? And then later on, when and again, this is just my reaction, I was saying the truth, just saying how I responded. When he tells the story about how when she got so angry about not being able to hold her breath like the other girl, and then he woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and found her like swimming and practicing holding her breath until she could do it, like off her own back, that whole relationship, and then his point was, that's when I knew like that you were special and that there was this thing that you could achieve if you were always fighting like this. If you kept fighting like that, there's nothing you can't do, kind of thing. And I found that turnaround from, he's a bit of an overbearing boob and to him just this moment in his life where he sees that his daughter has something genuinely special, that he can maybe help get her out of it, and that how they've like drifted apart somehow from that moment until she's where she is and he's where he is. And what happens in the movie right at the end, with her basically rescuing him much more than him rescuing her coming to realise while rescuing him, like at any point she could have just like given up.
I understand all that, by the way.
I was merely describing my reaction. I don't know what your reaction was.
My reaction was every time they started talking, I was like, let's hope an alligator eats one of them.
I know, but that's my point, is mine wasn't. Mine was different.
But
So I'm saying, I genuinely found that arc of where they started and what they went through and where they ended up, like with really when she was waving the flare.
No, I get it. Yeah.
No, but again, what your reaction to it was, you hated it, you wanted an alligator to eat them. I'm saying I had a different reaction, and me describing the reaction is not saying you don't get it. The only reason you're saying the alligators didn't eat them is because you don't want to be.
I just don't want to be like But it's one of those movies I actually don't want to talk about very much. That's the problem I'm having.
I know, but
because the more I talk about it, the less I like it.
I completely get where you're coming from. The more you talk about it, the more it falls apart because it's just like a fun, stupid alligator movie. And that's what it was. And in no way am I saying it's any more than that either. But if we're going to talk about it, if I'm going to talk about it, then the things that you had a problem with, that the characters and their story did not affect you, I'm saying I had the opposite experience. And I'm not saying you're wrong or I'm right. I'm just saying, you see what I'm saying? It's like it's the same movie.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
I think the issue is that I know exactly what you're saying, and I think the problem I have with it is that I wish that was the movie I had watched. I think, and I think why I'm a little antsy about it is I think I wanted to, once I realised what the film was doing and what it was, there were some bits that I really enjoyed. I just wish it had an exhilaration for me, is the word. Like it was clearly written, everything you're saying is right. It was clearly written in a way that there was meant to be this mid-movie turnaround, because everything after that, her dad would be like, you can make it to the boat, and she wouldn't even say, no, I can't, or like have another deep moment. She would just go, fine, I'm going to swim to the boat. And it just, the second half of the movie, he's like, do this, and she's like, all right, I'll do that. Or, I found another way out, I'm just going to go do that. Like, she became very confident and almost foolhardy at a certain point. I don't want to go into like it too deeply, but I wish I could pinpoint in my head this, and I think it would only have to be a small change, but a small change to the way it was written for that hero moment, either at the end or either when she gets the boat or either when whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's like 2 or 3 hero moments that she has. Getting out of the bathroom with the Alec, whatever. For any of those to have a release, an exuberance, a hero moment.
The shower door was pretty close. I know what you're saying about the shower door thing, but people did in the cinema. People did applaud.
No, they did.
And whoop after she did the shower door thing.
Right, but that was close. There's a way to tell the story, right? There's the best example of it, which is always in those old, cop films or cop shows or whatever, is at the beginning of the movie. They even use it in Die Hard, but they've used it in like 101. I think it's in Lethal Weapon as well. Like it's 101 different ones. At the beginning of the movie, you establish the old cop with the shaky hands who's only drawn his gun once, and when he drew his gun once, he accidentally shot a kid in the face, or whatever it is, and he's never drawn his gun since, right? And you know that by the end of the movie, when the hero needs to be saved, that guy will draw his gun, shoot the bad guy dead between the eyes, and the audience will go crazy, right? It's an old chestnut, but it's a good one because there's an established path for that, right? And there's any derivations of it, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been able to, I don't know, eat pudding, and then at the end of the movie, in order to save the girl, he has to eat like a whole bucket of pudding, and he's like, I did it, I ate the pudding, and then everyone applauds, right?
Depends how long the pudding scene lasts, to be honest.
Right, but
it's like a 5-minute scene of him eating pudding.
But in this movie, the switch is not you were all, like in this movie. It should have been you were always afraid of the water, right? And then they're in a situation where doing ridiculously dangerous things within the water is unavoidable, right? Or something like that.
Sorry, it's a tray.
This place is literally run by people who've given up. They gave up 2 years ago trying to have any kind of establishment that was worth anything. And they're just like, they all walk with just a kind of disregard for humanity. Anyway.
Especially their own.
The switch, and maybe I've figured it out, but the switch in this movie is not, oh, you can't swim, or oh, you're afraid of the water, or whatever. It's, you can swim slightly better than you think you can swim. Like, that's the switch.
Yeah.
Right? And I understand that it's tied up in her relationship with her
No,
dad.
I get what you mean. It's more difficult. In a book, it might be easier to get across because it would be like inside her head, what she's going through, what she's thinking. It's more easier to delineate that from however she was thinking before, almost, right? But what you're saying, like visually, her swimming in a pool quickly is very similar to her swimming away from the alligators. Like, it's not the same.
You like some dessert, coffee, anything?
No,
we're all taking a chat. Thanks.
So my point is,
Thank you.
My point is that it becomes very difficult then to invest in that heroic moment or that switch because
it's difficult to see it because I know what you're talking about.
No, but
while I'm watching the movie, I didn't see it. Like what you're saying, like that. I was following the narrative, like I said, so that I got enough at the end, which is way with the thing. I'm like, oh great, but that moment you're talking about, which is true, needs to be there. I didn't get that same reaction. You're right. For me, that was missing.
Right, and I think that
not like for me, it was not there. But like,
I get it. And I think that it was also hampered by the fact that in the movie there is only about 3 or 4 scenes where there's like a brief respite, long enough literally long enough to plug in another excruciating daddy-daughter moment, and so there is no nuance to the development of their situation. It's all very matter of fact.
Yeah, that's true.
And not that a B movie needs nuance, but
if it doesn't need nuance, it needs clarity.
But that's why
it's okay to have like the scene where it's like cop says this, partner says the other, but at least it needs to be like clear.
Well, that's why
fine.
if B movies need to make broad strokes because the only way to have that hero moment at the end with all the other craziness that's going on is if you're not even aware of it, but once the person holds aloft the magic sword or whatever the fuck, you're like, yeah! Like the person you thought was dead comes out of the shadows with a machete or whatever, right? And you're like, he's back from the dead to save the girl. You know, like whatever that moment is, you can't be thinking about it. You can't be, you know, there's a lot of times where people will talk about, you know, well, we've really written, and I think even Raimi said it about this movie, like, you know, I hope people get the roller coaster thrill, but with characters they can really care about, because we, like, you know, focused in on the characters. And the thing is that in a B movie about alligators attacking you in a hurricane, they can be, like Robert Forster in the original Alligator is a fairly complex one-dimensional character. I mean, he's a one-dimensional character. He's the slubby cop who by the end is going to kill the alligator or whatever. But he has certain things throughout the movie that are like offhand lines or something he says to a friend or whatever that give him like a bunch of layers that you can extrapolate, or you don't have to because he's just a slubby cop who's going to kill the alligator. And in this one, it felt like they were like, well, investing in the character is giving them this daddy-daughter dynamic, by which point at the end he's got to be all proud of her and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the movie you're making. I mean, it might be the movie you want to make, it might be the movie you think you're making, but, you know, that's not the movie.
No, that's that, and I suppose the other...
And I hate to be the guy who says, don't put deep characters into a horror movie or a B movie, because
No, you can, and you're right, because really, okay, here's a good moment in the movie, right? That's exactly what you're saying. There's a moment where she says, wait here. And he responds with, oh, I was going to go for a run. Right? That's the joke. So the setup is pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
Your leg's broken.
Yeah.
You're all fucked up. I just found you and brought you back from the dead. I'm now going to go off on my little journey.
Right.
We've got time to make a quick joke before, like, the horror, like, really starts, or the roller coaster starts. So that's it. We've got one line. And the joke is, I was going to go for a run. That's not nearly good enough. In that moment, he could have said that Forster would have said anything else, like, I was gonna, I don't know, compose a sonata or whatever, right? Any joke will do. I'm gonna go for a run is the most.
Right.
It's fine, but it's a placeholder for like a back.
Right.
But if you've got that, like you're saying, right? You've got very little time to actually, you know, have moments with the characters that will make them resonate in any kind of way. And with Robert Forster in Alligator, like you're saying, it's a throwaway line here, or like, you know, music that he's listening to, or something, right? It doesn't have to be a lot. It's like somebody give him a little bit of colour. But saying I was going to go for a run, it's like that's just standard joke response B to set up A, right? That's like just screenwriting 101. What you've done there is, you know, you've ticked the box of I put the joke there, but that's it. There's no character or there's no colour to it at all.
Well, it was like the big,
which I'm with.
The big emotional bit at the end was he was like, couldn't sell the house, it's our home, and she's like, no, Dad, you and I are home.
Yeah, that was incredibly dark.
And it's like, but this is my other point. That's an absolute fine line if delivered by like a hokey B movie actress to a hokey B movie actor at the, you know, stunning and ridiculous, over-the-top hokey B movie ending. But it was so po-faced, this movie. And the only humor in it came from watching people being devoured by alligators. There was literally only like those 2 minutes. And so the when she delivers that line, it sounds like an actor trying to make that line sound true and emotional and failing, rather than an actor who knows they've got to nail that line to the fucking cheap seats because that's the kind of movie they're in. And that's the difference.
Yeah. No, I see that. And you'd have to say, this is just something that I just. Well, there's two things I want to say. One's a good thing and one's a bad thing. The bad thing is, the one thing that slightly bothers me about the movie is that it's okay to have horror film characters surviving things they shouldn't survive, right? Like, you know, getting knifed to the gut or whatever, right? Or eaten by cannibals or what have you. it's okay to do that.
Eaten by cannibals.
I don't know, whatever.
If
like
you're
yours.
eaten by a cannibal, there is no surviving it. They're picking their teeth with your...
Well, they're just like nibbling, they're just nibbling bits at you. I guess what I'm saying.
if you survive a slight snack with a cannibal.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they're nibbling at you while you're running past them. Well, I'm saying, like, you know what I mean?
Animal movies do you
You
want?
can have, like, you know, bullets from your shoulder, bullets from, like, whatever.
Right, yeah.
If that is all fine, if the thing they're trying to achieve is like, you know, they have to get to the top of the mountain to like save the goat or whatever, right? Or they have to, you know, press the button on the computer that stops the nuclear bomb. Like, then they can crawl, you know, but it doesn't matter. They can be taken to a point of obviously beyond human like stamina.
Yeah.
If all they have to do is that one thing.
Yeah.
But if all they're doing in the movie is escaping from the thing that is causing them all this injury, if all they have to do is get away from that, then every time those injuries clearly don't matter, lessens the stakes. Like, the longer the movie went on, the lower the stakes got. You go, well, clearly she can survive. I mean, all he did, even when his arm got eaten off, was tie a belt around it.
Yeah. Oh no, tourniquets are a major part of this movie.
Yeah.
No, like in most movies that you've seen, how many tourniquets have you? Maybe once. Like maybe there's a scene in which a guy gets a bullet to an arm and he's like, I don't have time to bleed, and he'll just wrap something around it and away.
Which also doesn't work. Like,
No, it doesn't.
It's bollocks.
No, especially if then the next thing you're going to do is run, because then your blood is just like pumping like crazy, and it's just going to.
Yeah. Also, if your arm's been taken off, like tying a bit of rope around the top isn't going to stop it bleeding because there's no arm.
Right, but in this movie, I think they apply either 3 or 4 tourniquets. I lost after the third tourniquet. I was like, "That's probably too many
Yeah,
tourniquets."
just tie the tourniquet around your head. Like in Boston, it's just tie the tourniquet around his head.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And be done with it.
But yes, there was a lot of that.
But the good thing.
But that's in movies all the time. Like action movies and horror movies, people have become rubber people. Like they just don't have any bones.
I agree.
Or
What I'm saying
blood
is,
or
but
body.
and that's fine if they're trying to get somewhere else. But if all they have to survive is the thing that's causing them the injury, if that's it. That's all they've got to get out of. Then yeah, like you say, but the good thing. And
also, why did they go to the stairs? Why didn't they just flip the boat over and go out again?
Yeah, I don't know.
The boat was, or when she was on top of the boat, grab the oar or grab the spade or grab whatever she had, use that as an oar, and get to a point
that's
where...
That's the other problem with the movie, which is that it's not that there were times when it wasn't just them being stupid.
Right.
They literally did things that like, well, we can't do that because then the plot won't work. Like, hey, there's a helicopter and you've got a flare. I'm going to go to the roof. You stand 5 foot away from a window and wave the flag. Why wouldn't you go to the roof as quickly as possible? Right? And like just knock a bit of the roof out.
Also, I don't know that helicopters fly through hurricanes.
Look,
I mean, I guess it was wobbling. Maybe they do. Do they fly through? I thought they...
Can I just say this?
I would imagine a helicopter is like the worst thing to be in a hurricane.
I totally understand what you mean, because this is very much a movie where the more you
Well, I just found something to talk about, really.
Yeah, no. But, okay, but there's 2 things here, right? The first is that I agree with you. This is one of these movies where the more you talk about it, like, the less fun it is. And when we were in the cinema, we had a good time.
We did have a good time, and people should go see it.
But the second thing is, when you talk about these things, and not in a way of like, let's poke holes in the movie, oh yeah, and that didn't work, and that didn't work. And that's very much like what I do, and that's not very helpful. But when you talk about, and I'm just being honest here, when you talk about, and of course, you know, you need the hero moment here, and in, you know, X movie, Y movie, the hero moment happens, and then you feel this way. But in this movie, it doesn't happen because whatever. That is really interesting to me, because then it's giving what's happening in the movie or why it doesn't work not only context, but the knowledge that it can be done better, and I feel richer for having heard your take on this. I don't feel like you're doing it down.
Right.
I feel like you're placing it alongside what it could be.
Right.
And in other words, I think it's quite hopeful, because I think what you're basically saying is movies aren't dead, right? Like,
no.
This can be done. It can be done better. And I like hearing that.
Because the biggest...
I was saying it's fun for me to listen to.
Thank you.
In case you think it's like, I hate doing it down or whatever. No. I don't feel that. I find it quite a positive thing.
The thing we're learning is that people nowadays trying to write movies like movies were written when they were younger, basically when we were younger, because most of them are our generation or slightly older, certainly within the next 10 years, between 40 and 50 years old. Doesn't quite work, and why would it? Because it's sort of a facsimile rather than original it doesn't quite work as well as the original ones do. And it's not that I think that the screenwriters don't understand the beats or the marks they're meant to hit. I just think that they don't. With a movie like this, I think that they go, there'll be alligators, there'll be people having their arms ripped off, and look, we've thrown some daddy-daughter drama in there. What more does anyone want? That'll do. Boom, 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 boom. She goes to get her phone, she can't get her phone. She goes to get the walkie-talkie, can't get the walkie-talkie. Goes to get, the boat, gets attacked by alligators, and the levee breaks, and they go smashing through a window. Great, next. What's interesting is that the screenwriter in this one is super focused on those things. I think they've looked at the concept that they've set up and they go, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, alligators in a hurricane and blah, 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 blah. But then they've sat down and gone, okay, but how do we make that last 90 minutes, right? And they go, well, what we have to do is have a series of almost climaxes that are constantly thwarted by X, Y, and Z, right? Until the very end of the movie. And then if we can tie in the very end of the movie with some daddy-daughter drama, there's our ABC and away we go. But whereas I think when people wrote B-movies in the 70s and 80s, the things that they were not parodying, but the things that they were imitating were either the film noirs of the 40s and 50s or the monster nuclear terror monster movies of the 50s and early 60s. And I think what they did was they were what if we throw the two together? We'll have a hard-bitten detective and a crazy monster. And what they were doing was that they were writing subpar Chandler or subpar whatever, but it still sounds groovy and weird and kooky or whatever in that setting. Once you get to the third or fourth facsimile of that, it's never going to be necessarily as good. But I tell you this, I will take, and I'll say this till the end of days, I will take 1,000,001 crawls over 1,000,001 fucking Halloween remakes or Halloween sequels
Mortal Engines.
or or whatever.
I'm just glad it's not going to be and it's the first entry in the Crawl universe.
Right.
The hurricane universe, you know what I mean?
But they could,
Florida, a land where the hurricanes never stop.
But dude,
and
honestly,
also looks a bit like Bulgaria.
They should have made it Hurricane Heist 2. Now there are alligators.
Can I say my one good?
Because there was literally someone trying to do a heist in the hurricane.
That's true. So my one positive to end it on a positive.
Yeah.
You know what I like most about this film?
What?
They were just alligators. They weren't alligators from space.
No.
They weren't genetically modified.
They were particularly angry alligators.
They were, but because they were fucking alligators, and they were,
Right, but sharks, sharks in movies are always dangerous and angry and whatever, and in reality, you've got more chance of being killed by a bee than you have by a shark.
Right, but my point is that usually the shark would be it's been genetically modified to be bigger teeth, or the alligator this is the biggest fucking the Meg or whatever, and it's because I thought it was one
or
giant alligator.
The original alligator.
I thought
where it's giant enough to break through the road.
So when I saw this, I thought it was one monstrous alligator. In fact, it was just no, it's a hurricane. It's in Florida. There was an alligator farm nearby. The banks burst, and now they're in a swamp full of alligators. That's a fucking brilliant. Because that would be extremely dangerous.
Yeah,
it's that's fine.
Yeah,
they don't need to be any more dangerous. Alligators are dangerous enough for our purposes. They don't need to be alligators from space.
Right.
You know what I mean? Bounty hunting alligators or whatever. It's just it's
now I want to see alligators from space.
bounty hunting alligators in a hurricane.
Yeah,
hurricane bounty.
But no, listen. I will always.
I agree with you.
Always support a movie that is standing on its own rather than, even though obviously you can trace the lineage of this back to fucking Godzilla or whatever. It tells its own story. It tells its own story with its own characters, and it does it in an inventive way. And I'll give that kudos to the beans before I give any kind of credit to the Halloween 2018s of the world or whatever. Take your pick of remakes.
The one problem I think that a lot of modern horror movies have is that they're still sold and marketed by suits, and I don't mean like, they only care about money. I mean they care about their image. So it's not goofy enough. In other words, they need like the daddy-daughter relationship, and he's like an overbearing coach, but it's like they need something to talk about at their dinner parties. You know what I mean?
Well, they also
because I don't. If you're explaining it to these people, right? I don't understand.
Also, who was the dad? What I'm saying is, you need a
no. I agree.
Not a Neeson, but you need like someone with a little heft and a little grizzle and a little gravitas. This guy looked like 5 years ago he could have been playing in Dude, Where's My Hat? You know, it was like...
No, he was. But just what I mean. In other words, that when you're explaining the movie to them, if you told them it was like Rampage or something, they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't understand. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to give them, like, the whole, like, it's an alligator. You know, it's alligators in a hurricane, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, I get that people will think that's popular. That'll be hit with kids.
Right.
But then you go, but really, it's this very human relationship, and they're like, okay, I get it, it's serious. So I can talk to people I can talk to my wife's friends about this, or you know what I mean, my husband's squash partner, Colin. Like, it's like my life.
My husband's squash partner, Colin.
But in that way we're talking about, right?
No, I get it.
Their lives, in the same way as like Mr. 6,000 Apples, like their jobs are like if I have to go out there and sell goofy movies, I will kill myself. But if I'm out there, selling movies about like deep human relationships between troubled people that happen to take place in a hurricane full of alligators, I can live with myself. So everything tends to be po-faced because they don't trust goofy. And
but here's also one other thing, to take it back to something that Raimi has said in interviews, right? When people ask him, as they inevitably do in interviews recently about this movie, like, what do you think makes a good horror movie? And he's always like, blah, 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 lots of things. But the audience needs to feel like the director is is insane, right? And when you go back to the horror movies that, we all love from the 70s and 80s, whether it's Texas Chainsaw being made by Toe Cooper, or whether it's Evil Dead, the first one being made by Sam Raimi, or whether it's...
Nightmare on Elm Street?
Not Nightmare on Elm Street, I would say like The Last House on the Left or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And those movies, they were so transgressive at the time, and also so low budget that when you invariably saw them on like a third generation VHS tape that had been handed to you by a friend. I remember Edgar Wright saying this in a documentary, and me being that is what it was like. Because obviously Texas Chainsaw was banned in the UK, so like when I saw it on a bootleg, it was like this movie born of hell. Like it was this, like it's this documentary style thing. There are no stars in it. It doesn't look like anyone is in control. Like it doesn't look like there's a director there saying like do this and do that. It literally looks like someone's like cowering in the corner of a room of actual cannibals while they all like scream and go nuts at this girl. The same thing when I first saw The Evil Dead. Like the funny thing is with each new release of The Evil Dead, whether it was on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and they've gone, we've made it 4K and it's high def and whatever, you're like, yeah, you've ripped the guts from it. When you saw it on a dirty, railway siding left VHS soaked with rain that you put into an old dusty machine and it cranked up on the screen, and like there was weird noises and like cameras whizzing through woods, and we hadn't watched enough American rural movies to kind of necessarily know where this thing was. It was like genuinely terrifying, and you were like, I don't know who the people are making this movie. Like, this looks like and then you find out that it was like a bunch of 21-year-olds that were like out in the middle of the woods. They didn't know what they were doing. They had like no food. They had no heat. They had no, like they were like stripped raw to the nerve when they were making these movies. And I don't know how. There's some visceral thing that translates to the screen. So when you watch something like a very early Wes Craven, which were very near the knuckle, or a very early Tobe Hooper, or a very early Sam Raimi, not so much with John Carpenter, because his was always very like slick to some extent. Like Halloween is a slick Hollywood movie, even for the low budget that it was made for. You don't ever think Carpenter's necessarily insane behind the camera. Like there's an order to it. But there's certain movies, like you watch the original Hills Have Eyes, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, who made this? And Raimi talks about that. He's like, you should feel, as the audience member, unsettled merely by the fact that you're in the hands of a madman. And the thing I would say about Crawl is I never felt that. Like, there was never a point where I was like, if I discovered this and put it in, I'd be like, oh, it's a Hollywood movie about alligators in a hurricane. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, you know, whereas, again, you watch High Tension by Ajar, and there's scenes in that where you're like, oh, who came up with, you know, there's scenes in that where you're like blown to the back of your seat, especially if you saw that again on like a late VHS or a very early DVD, and it was, you know, handed to you by a friend, or you saw it at night in a dorm or whatever it was. It was some situation where you saw it where you were like, okay, I don't know where this is going. It's in French, so I'm already a little detached from it and therefore a little nervous. Then, like, some of the violence in that movie is, you know, ridiculous, especially for the time it was made. That felt like visceral and exciting and energized. This lacked that, and it wasn't for lack of gore or lack of violence, because there's a shit ton of gore and violence in this movie. It's incredibly, you know, brutal and graphic, and, you know, way more than the scenes we ever would have seen in Evil Dead or whatever. But it's almost too polished, and it's almost too scripted, and it's almost too the actors are too middle of the road. Either go full Hollywood and get like the proper grizzled old father that you would believe was a real bastard, and the young ingenue who's like, you know, you never loved me and you treated me like you treated me like something to mold, not something to love. That would have been a good line. Or go completely unknown, amateur, whatever, and film it for 25 cents and a hamburger.
But that's what I mean. Like, the problem is that when you to get something like this made, it's like, we've got this bloke who was in this thing, and this birdie's just come off that. It's like, fine, that gets you, you know, that gets you $3 million in budget. We're going to film in Bulgaria. Like, it's all these things like, this is what it takes to get it made.
Right.
I still think you're right. I think there needs to be more imagination there, and I think that Raimi, understandably, is like, let's embrace, you know, let's embrace the low budget nature. Let's play it straight, because sometimes that's how you make it work. Let's play it straight. Right. And there were bits like I did genuinely jump out of my seat.
I jumped. Yeah.
You know, and I did like. I really enjoyed the experience of watching the movie, but I basically agree with you that it...
Oh, and this was my one last point, and it's actually a really good point. The bit that another thing that had like Raimi's fingerprints all over it, because he's definitely a torture your actors style director, admittedly so. Like, not just Bruce Campbell, like people in Spider-Man even have said that, you know, if Spider-Man had to get hit in the face with a bag, it was Raimi piloting the bag, like into Tobey Maguire's face or whatever. But what I really liked, and what I'll change a little bit on the whole visceral thing. What was really visceral was the first time she went down into the crawl space, and the fact that like the floor was like she had short trousers on. And like she lost her flip-flops in a pile of poo or whatever that was meant to be, mud or poo or something. And she was like, you were watching a real actress crawl through a real crawl space in real mud on real stone in like a really shitty scenario. And like that, I really did appreciate. Like, I'll give it full beans for that.
That's fair enough.
Because that was really good.
And I did also, again, it was a special effect, but when the spiders fell on it, I was
oh my god, that was disgusting. That was disgusting. That was disgusting.
And they probably made me go, and she didn't spend nearly enough time. She literally freaked out. I was like, you need to be freaking out for at least the next 2 minutes about this.
You freaked out for an hour about the spiders. And I know there are alligators who have chewed your dad's leg in half.
Because it was an issue. Like,
but can we just talk about the spiders?
Is that this? It's so spider. Yeah, but you're right, because I felt that too.
But do you know what I also thought though? So I had that thought. I was like, oh yeah, this is actually like really grimy, and they've got the actress like down in the crawl space, and she's really going through all this stuff, and the water didn't look clean, and like later when she had to go through the tunnel, and like she catches her arm on the grate or whatever, like that looked good and real, and what you would do in real life, you'd be like, oh great, that's tetanus, you know. The thing that then popped immediately into my head afterwards, I'm like, why does anyone do this? I mean, even if you loved horror movies, like I love horror movies, but if someone said to me like, do you want to be in well, no, actually I would do it. But in general though, that actress could probably like be on a soap opera or be on a TV show or be third fiddle in a rom-com where she gets to sit in
it's very
comfy
difficult
seats
to do. And I tell you why that they do it with horror films as well. It's very difficult to turn down a lead.
Right.
And she's the lead. She's not like, you're the lead actress. Like, this is your movie. You're carrying this movie. And we will put you through, but you'll be the fucking lead.
Yeah, true. You are right. But it's funny because you get it from like, you get it back in the 70s and 80s where they felt like the only way to break into movies was to make a gritty horror movie. And look, I don't know this actress. Maybe she works with Aja before. Maybe this was her like debut. I don't know.
I recognise her from somewhere. I can't
but you
remember
get
where,
the
but
feeling that, you know, she's not out on the streets of Hollywood thumbing for food. You know, she would get a part somewhere. And does it really need to be like crawling knee deep in shit with,
it just, I wonder if you don't reach a point
spider.
as an actress where you think maybe I'll never get another lead. Like maybe this is it. You know, she's I don't know, 25, 26, right? Like maybe this is it. Maybe do I want to play second fiddle forever? Or do I want to just be the lead in something?
Yeah. Well, no, they were the two thoughts I had, and I want to end up there.
Yeah, that's fine with me, mate. Well, I really, really enjoyed the experience. I'm seeing it in New York cinema. I'm glad it was full. And I'm glad people were cheering and screaming and yelling.
Because it just came out this week, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this tonight the first night?
Yeah.
Or did it come out last Friday?
I think tonight was the first night, I think.
I don't think it'll have a huge opening weekend, but I think for this weekend it'll do well.
It should do okay.
Because what's it up against? What else is out right now?
Toy Story 4.
Oh shit.
No, but that's it's something. But what's the other big one? Because Toy Story 4 got beaten into second place by something.
Oh fucking! I know what it is.
Spider-Man.
See it.
Spider-Man's out.
Well, Spider-Man's still out, right? That's been out a few weeks though. No.
I think it's Spider-Man 4 is still top, and it's Toy Story 4 is second.
What they need to do is they need to have a good weekend, because by next weekend isn't the new Tarantino out next week? Or is that 2 weeks from now?
I don't know when it's out. I'm not sure. I think, look, honestly, dude, I think these movies, I was thinking about this too. This is another good thing. All these streaming services out there, right? Like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Go, all of them, right? And all these TV channels, and they all want fucking movies, and they all want movies that were in the cinema. Like even if they're only in the cinema for a week, just as people saw reviews for them, or they saw them on the, you know, like a poster, or they saw a trailer for it. When it comes on Netflix, like, oh yeah, I'll give that a go. So that adds value to those things, right? If this was just released straight to DVD or sold straight to Amazon Prime, it would just fucking sink. But you put it in the cinema literally for a week, and it's in people's like, oh yeah, that's a cinema movie. Like HBO goes like that, but you see a movie like, oh yeah, that was in the cinema.
To be fair to Raimi and Aja, and I haven't even been like hunting it down. I've been seeing it pop up on like YouTube recommendations, interview with Sam Raimi about Crawl, or on Twitter or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, look.
I hope it does gangbusters, so that lots of people make like loads of silly beats.
The way this weekend is, it feels like a fairly dead weekend, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really that big coming out. It'd be nice if it did like, not much, but if it made like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times its money back, it wouldn't cost nothing. Sell it overseas, sell it to HBO Go for another 5 mil or whatever, and it's like, you know,
and on the last
turn on the fucking conveyor belt.
On the last positive note, the effects are really good.
Yeah,
like the effects are really, really
brilliant.
Good.
And there were genuinely bits where it's not often I jump out of my cinema seat, but there were a couple of bits. But Jesus, even the tree coming through the window was like, fuck it out.
Oh yeah. Although it was funny that people laughed, like as she's going down the tube to get out into the river or wherever, seeing the alligator's side profile, like going through the thing, going as it like goes to the, almost like James Bond walking out into the side. Like that, people like tittered in the cinema. They were like, like because the alligator went past. I thought that was really well done. But her running up onto the bank and it like snapping.
I think it was like because you actually moved your feet. Like you involuntarily like pulling your feet up to like as she was running out. It's great. It's very cool.
I love that. Yeah. So it does that and it's good. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks, man.
Good.